All right, folks. What I got here is this happens to be a Neon, an 03. And for some reason, it just didn't want to start the next day. It just went click, click. I'm going to show you that video in a little bit. Yeah, it just clicked. You would think that it's a battery. Check the battery voltage. It's good. It's at 11 volts. A little bit lower than 12, but it's still good. It should be enough to start. Then you'd think it's the starter, but it's clicking. So that means the solenoid is kicking in, but the thing is the starter's not spinning. So you go another way. That starter's only a couple years old. Then you go to the starter relay. And I had a video on the starter relay for you to check. It's very simple. You got 12 volts coming on one side. It sits there all the time. Then you get 12 volts here when you turn the key. So you use your little test light. Okay, hook it up to negative. Over here was 12 volts all the time. Over here it was 12 volts when you turn the key. It lights up. Okay, this one over here is the wire that goes to the starter solenoid. Okay, so you can check that if you want. You can just ohm it out. And then this one here is the ground from the computer that needs to see that it's grounded from the transmission to show that it's in park or neutral. But that all checks out. This is the starter relay. It's not blown. Not starter relay, the starter fuse, 30 amp starter fuse. That's not blown. So remember what I told you about connections, battery connections, very important. Okay? What I did was I took my test light and I had touched it here. And I touched it here. And you know what? Before I continue, let me just show you what this starter did. I hooked up a camera here because since I'm working by myself, I usually like to see if something is sparking over here when you're turning the ignition key. Sometimes this will spark, got a bad connection over here. This will spark. Somewhere along the line, you might have a bad connection, and you're going to see it spark. Sometimes you got to wiggle the cable itself. Okay, even though it's on tight, it could be sparking because it could be internally eaten up with green corrosion. So watch this. I'm going to show you this video of what I taped it with. Alright, so after watching that video, did you see what I mean? You can hear the clicking sound and everything was, seems to be almost normal. Okay, but the clicking sound was a problem. So like I said, starter's good, the battery's good, relay's good, the fuse is good. So you have to check connections. So what I did before, well, I cleaned it all up now if you noticed. Okay, it wasn't the problem with the negative, the problem was in the positive. This is an aftermarket battery terminal connector because the original one, like I said, rotted away inside. You couldn't even tell. About maybe 5-6 years ago, this car stalled out at the light and wouldn't start. It wouldn't start with a jump or anything. But when you grabbed the battery cable, all of a sudden it started. Okay, so it was corroded. So what I did here was, just in case I thought it was the same thing, I sliced the insulation open. Okay, I sliced it open, and it's nice and clean in there. So that's not the problem. So what I did was I poked around with my test light and everything was lighting up pretty bright, okay, as you're going along. But when I touched this, it was bright, then it wasn't bright, it wasn't bright. If I scratched it, it would be bright. And I touched it here, didn't light up, touched over here. It was like weird, like something wasn't right. So what I did was I took all these terminals off. I wire brushed them nice and clean. Guess what, people? Car starts right up. So, yeah, if you have a bad connection, corrosion that you can't see, okay, it wasn't like full of gook and everything. It was just a bad connection somewhere between here to this bootleg little clamp here to this bolt. Somewhere along here was the problem, and that's why it wouldn't start. Do you believe that? Yep, I believe it. Because that's the way electrical items are. Little corrosion can cause just a little bit, just a resistance in that wire, and it's not going to start. It's a common problem. So before you go jumping around and buying all kinds of stuff and throwing parts at it, check your connections. It's very, very common. Let's see if this bugger starts. Okay? Let's see. Turn it here. There you go. Like I said, it just started right out of the blue. Drove home, parked for a couple of days, then all of a sudden it just didn't want to start. So I didn't even give it enough chance for the battery to die or anything. And like I said, the starter was good. I replaced it anyway because it's under warranty. But that's it. It was a bad connection right here at the positive terminal. And that's it. All right. Car won't start. Lesson 102. That's it, boys and girls. Thanks for watching.